Hello and welcome to the Cesspool podcast, where we talk about everything and anything, no matter how disgusting or offensive. This is our first episode, so we'll be introducing ourselves. I'm your co-host Tyler, with my other co-host Joseph.
Our guests today are Ahbi and Joe Kim. Joe Kim will be joining us later. We'll be talking about current events for our first section. So our first topic will be about the video that recently came up, I think last week, about Jacksepticeye with Naruto. So his recent YouTube video about Naruto is that he hasn't actually watched the anime until now, and he decided to tweet out these comments of his own opinions on the anime while he's watching Naruto. So he doesn't actually know what's happening at the end. So obviously he's sounding his own opinions while he's watching, kind of viewing the character development while it's happening. So the fan base actually gets quite mad about Jack's opinions of these characters and try to actually spoil the entire anime for him. It's kind of they were mad that they were kind of criticizing their favorite characters almost. So he actually rationalizes this action by saying that he understands that Naruto is part of their childhood and they have an emotional connection with it. But in my opinion, I mean, this is a generic example of toxic fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted you guys to kind of voice your own opinions on what you guys thought about this situation.
I guess
So
I.
do you,
Yeah,
you can go.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
this
was just gonna
is
say,
not
like,
just
I literally don't know anything about
no,
anime.
you don't need to. Yeah, no, you
I
don't
know.
specifically need to talk about anime. I'm talking about like overall toxic fan bases.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
like
it's just kind of. Oh yeah, sorry.
no, I was just gonna basically relate it to something I do know, which is Star Wars, because my God, the Star Wars fan base is
of
incredibly
course,
Oh, that's so
toxic.
toxic.
I
Oh
mean,
my
it's
God.
it's the same.
You
It's,
have an opinion, you get criminalized for it.
yeah,
no, but it's
basically,
also because of like that. It has politics in it now. Like recently,
yeah.
because equals is like women's like strength and like bringing in all these minorities, which is great. It's obviously amazing to have diversity, but it's also quite concerning that people are actually so invested into putting politics into films nowadays,
Mhm. It
and it's
makes it
so toxic.
it makes it seem unnatural that it's there. Like you can
Mhm.
easily spot when they're trying to do something on purpose instead of it actually benefiting the story.
Tyler, you're cutting out.
I am.
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably not for me, so I think.
Wait, stop it and check it just in case. Like end the recording and check it because
All right.
I don't want it to be ruined again.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5 minute commercial break. Not 5 minutes. It'll be less than 5 minutes, but yeah.
It'll be 3 second commercial break.
Nobody has the movie I want.
Hey, if it's on video, Blockbuster probably has it. I mean, we have over 10,000 videos.
Wow.
I'll watch these fast and have them back tomorrow, I promise.
Relax. At Blockbuster, you can keep your videos for 3 evenings, so take home plenty. And use our 24-hour quick drop.
Do you have any children's videos?
Sure. Blockbuster's America's family video store. You know, we have more kids' videos than any place else. More movies, more nights, more fun.
Blockbuster Video. Wow, what a difference.
And we're back. I believe we're back.
Yes. So we were talking about toxic relationships. So I think Tyler, you were talking about.
Yeah, well, I was kind of relating the toxic fan base that that Jack was basically enduring from Naruto. I was basically relating that to Star Wars and how
Yeah.
if you have a different opinion from I would assume maybe 75% of the Star Wars fan base, you're just a literal devil spawn and you will go to hell.
Mhm.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
in
it's like-
animes. Oh no, you can
Like
do it.
we all know, like just to talk about Star Wars fan bases. Only true Star Wars fans know that the original trilogy was amazing. The prequels are actually it's actually all right.
They're not that bad. I don't
it's
know why
not
people
bad
are
as-
hating
so-
on them so bad.
Yeah,
it's like
the
that genius
acting-
where everyone hated it, but it became kind of funny and a meme.
No, it's
at
like
the
it's like
end.
an anime where they're just like, oh, essay was bad, even though it's actually kind of good. Like,
It was decent. It's not comparable to the original. That's
Yeah.
why they thought it was terrible.
for a bunch of
But
reasons.
now that-
but
Yeah, but now from hindsight and because of the sequels, we all know that the prequels were like an unknown blessing, and I love the prequels.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
So we'll be actually we want to kind of move on to the next the idea of toxic fan bases and gatekeeping, because that's actually a huge factor into what toxic fan bases are, right? So like some people start watching TV shows or like experience this creative uh product like somebody made, right? Like a book, a manga, an anime, a TV show, movie, or anything, right? And a lot of people who watch it earlier gatekeep it from other people from watching it, almost as if it's too precious for them to share. So I wanted to ask you guys if you guys were the creators, like if you think like because it's a mixed feeling, right? Like people are would be like, oh, I actually am super appreciative that people are engaging into my fan base, right? Because some like a ton of toxic fan bases are very appreciative and they love the material so much. So I wanted to hear your opinions on that.
When it comes to there's this new trend in anime fandoms where things are just toxic. You go to B and H, you don't if it's not a gay if you're not into a gay ship, you're basically criminalized there. You go to AOT and you say Mikasa looks fine, you get criminalized there because apparently everyone thinks that they messed her up. Like it's sort of this trend now that all majority of anime fandoms are just getting more and more toxic. And Jacksepticeye, I think, really pointed that out. You can't have an opinion without being criminalized for it.
Mm-hmm.
No one's
Yeah, but
asking
he
you to
also
agree with it, but everyone's asking you to just ignore it or just say, yeah, I kind of see this, or say, no, I disagree with this. No one's asking you to say that it's wrong, you're just messed up, you don't understand it. No one's asking for you that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but for some reason nowadays fandoms can't seem to accept that.
Yeah, there's no mutual respect.
Yeah, exactly. And it's annoying because it's okay just to say that, but then when it gets to the point where fans are sending death threats to creators, having to like turn Twitter pages into private because the amount of negativity that the directors are getting, it's very alarming. And I really don't think it's something right, and it's definitely something that needs to be changed. And for people who did participate in that, you should be ashamed of yourself, because that's definitely not something you're not respecting the creator nor the directors that put so much hard work to give you the content that you watch. You can't even be grateful for that. How do you expect people to actually respect you?
And I also agree with a lot of people are tearing down these professionals, and obviously sometimes the professionals actually don't know what the audience wants, but they're also expressing, for example, let's say Mikasa, right? A lot of people are saying she looks too boyish and she looks like a JoJo character, like that's the meme. But um, if you think about it, like story wise, she's been through a lot. She's training like as a military personnel. Obviously, she's gonna be bigger and more buff than other normal women, right? Like that makes sense that she
Yeah,
looks
she's an
more.
Ackerman, and it's in her blood.
Yeah, so I don't think it's like it's just like these people that want to see their best girls still be cute and all that, and just story wise it wouldn't make any sense, and that's what puzzles me, is that you should be happy that she's accurately portrayed, right?
Exactly, and then the funny thing is that they made it exactly look like from the manga. She looks
Mhm.
exactly like she does in the manga, but I don't see any manga readers, hating that. It's just the anime watchers, which is like why anime fandoms are just getting less and less popular nowadays, and it's just mostly just people just resorting to manga because manga is just it's directly from the creator and no one can really criticize it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I also wanted to point out that I know that Jack also pointed this issue out to a lot of people, but I also don't like the fact that he rationalizes this action and almost kind of lets them go. Like this shouldn't be something you can be like, "Oh yeah, it's cuz of, like yes, we all have emotional attachments to things and it hurts when people criticize it." But I don't think having a entire fan base trying to ruin somebody else's experience of that anime or TV show is an okay thing to just say it, just let under water pass under the bridge, you know? The people need to be pointed out for it and be like not attacked, but you know, like they should realize that what they're doing is wrong.
Right.
Clearly, it's not like toxic fan bases can be a very like very they love the material, right? They love Naruto so much, and obviously the creators would be appreciative of that. But if you're ruining a newcomer's experience of that material, then that's it's not helping the creator. It's not helping the people learn about that thing that you love the most. You ruin it, and it's so counterproductive, and I find it kind of insulting because a lot of people see anime and be like, oh, a ton of these fan bases are toxic, and some of them are because they're the most outspoken, but it's like there are a ton of other fan bases that are, you know, they're not toxic and they actually enjoy newcomers. So, you know, we need to, you know, point that out and figure out how to fix that for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's difficult to
Uh,
change a group that big, though.
exactly. Um, let's talk about the next topic, which is actually the Congress passing the virus relief bill. So
Yes.
the House of Representative was able to pass a $1.9 trillion COVID aid bill on Wednesday. So this is last Wednesday. Biden actually signed this bill, marking his first major legislative achievement in his presidency. So this money is being dispersed. It's being sent out to schools, vaccine distribution efforts, the state and local governments, and providing support to struggling multi-employer pensions. However, some people do feel that it is unnecessarily large. Maya McGinnis said she didn't believe that it had to be this big. I'm quoting what she said is the bill is larger than it had to be to fight the current economic situation. So what follows is these economists expect that the aid package will propel the U.S. economy to the fastest annual growth in nearly 4 decades, boosting employment and reducing poverty while actually reviving inflation. So I wanted to ask you guys, because this is a huge debate. Like, do you think this bill is overly large, or if it's way too big, unnecessarily big is the question. Like, do you think it's the right amount? Do you think it's too small, etc.?
You want to go or should I?
No, you can go. You can go
All right.
first.
So I don't think that it's necessarily too much money. I think that all of the money is going to benefit people in one way or another, whether they need it or not. It'll end up going. I think everybody is kind of in need of money right now. Except obviously the 1%, the super rich, whatever. But that's not where the majority of this money is going to. Obviously, my
Yeah.
issue is the origin of the money, because the country is already in a ridiculous amount of debt. Literally over $25 trillion, or whatever the hell it is, and raising the. I mean, people keep saying, oh, we're in a ton of debt, but in reality, we've never had to actually pay off that money. The problem
Hmm.
is that the more money we continue to build up, the less the dollar is worth. I think you mentioned inflation. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
the inflation. Yeah.
And the issue is that our money is not actually backed by any gold or silver or whatever. And when you have something like the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank with private shareholders, in reality, the money that they give out to the government to give to the people is going to have to be paid back in some way, which essentially means the tax. We're probably going to end up getting higher taxes down the road. I'm not saying now, because it definitely won't be now. It's going to be pretty far down the road when we're past coronavirus, but it will happen. because they do need to pay back. They took out a loan basically from the Federal Reserve. They didn't just get the money; it wasn't free. So our taxes will either have to be risen to pay off that debt, or we'll just keep going deeper into debt. And one of these days, the Federal Reserve will ask for some of that loan money back, and it is a lot of money that the federal government doesn't have right now.
For people who don't know what the Federal Reserve is, Tyler, can you elaborate on what that organization is?
So the Federal Reserve, it's you see it when you look at a dollar, any piece of U.S. currency, or not any piece, any paper currency in the United States. It'll say Federal Reserve, uh, Federal Reserve note at the top, and essentially the money is entirely the United States dollar is entirely controlled by the Federal Reserve. And you might say, "Oh, well, that's just part of the government. It's the Federal Reserve." It's not. It's a private bank funded by private shareholders, and this was originally done in the 19 teens by the Rockefellers, the J.P. Morgans, Vanderbilt, Carnegie, and European beneficiaries like the Rothschild family, people like that. People, old money, basically. They've had a ton of money for a long period of time. And they got Woodrow Wilson, the president at the time, to sign the bill to get the Federal Reserve put in place so that we would have a central bank. Before that, we did not have a central bank at all. Our money was just based off of gold, basically. And the Federal Reserve would loan out the money to the government. It would loan out the money to your local Capital One bank. It doesn't really matter. But the thing is that it is a loan, and that loan will eventually need to be paid back. And this is kind of how the housing crisis happened in 2008, where basically the smaller banks loaned out too much money to people, so they didn't have enough money, and the Federal Reserve had to give them more money. It's hard to explain, but the idea is that the Federal Reserve is a private bank, is private shareholders, and when it gives money to the government, it's loaning that money to the government, and they will want it back at some point. They just haven't asked for it yet.
So what you as Tyler, that was a good explanation of what that was. So we'll actually that I wanted to ask is that because as I said, it's being dispersed to the state and local governments, and schools, and I was wondering. Obviously, there are going to be extra expenses, right, for opening schools with these extra restrictions where like people have to come in with masks. The schools are required to like do testing. Well, not always testing, but like check for fevers. They need to keep students safely away from each other, and all these safety precautions. Obviously, that costs money. But what I wanted to ask is, can't they do that in a local or state environment where the local government and the state government just raise their taxes a little bit so they can fund their own schools rather than the federal government having to step in and funding it for them? That's the big question here. Abi, do you have any opinions?
I don't want to
Yeah.
talk my ass off here.
So I think that the fact that schools, you can't just give schools $1 billion and be like, all right, do something with this. I think it should be distributed to the state, but the state should only use that money for the schools. Because it often happens where they use this money and they only give it some to schools, and then they for some reason they don't use all of it. Like even for our school, for example, we had a lot of funding that was supposed to be given to us for research, but we only got about maybe like around like 7/10 of the amount of funding we were supposed to get, and the rest of it would just never came for some reason. So when stuff like that happens, it's just really infuriating because like they've given that money for a reason, but you still don't want to use it.
Well,
Where did this funding come from?
It was
Like,
from the
was it-
state
From the state, okay.
because BCA is a research school. So
Yeah, that makes sense. So these extra money, like
it should be used responsibly. Is all I say. It's okay to give it to someone, but they should have the responsibility to use it properly.
I don't
instead of
know. I
just-
don't feel like the federal government has I mean, obviously they have the right to do whatever, but I'm saying I feel like the state and local government should be figuring this out, like on their own, figuring out how to fund themselves, to fund the government, the school. I have no idea. Like, obviously they're gonna raise taxes, but like Tyler said, they're gonna have to raise taxes anyways if they're gonna use Federal Reserve. It's just, if I'm pretty sure if they use the Federal Reserve, the taxes go even higher than that, right?
Debatable.
But the thing is that the 2017 tax law that reduces that $1.3 trillion tax law that only affects that 1% of rich people, if they decide to get rid of that, we can balance those sort of taxes from us with them. But with that law, the middle class is gonna be affected more, I feel. So it's more or less that taxing, like raising taxes, sure, may be a problem, but those who can pay it should be getting taxed. They shouldn't get the excuse when they're the ones who make more money.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree.
So that's all what my view is. Like, it's so like your like state government should be figuring this out, but they have these sort of like overarching restrictions that doesn't help them essentially make that decision. So it's a more or less of a yes and a no type of answer.
Yeah. Okay. So our third question would be since Abby was talking about the 1.3 trillion dollar bill that that was passed, I'm pretty sure by Trump, right? Abby, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, do you think the 1 trillion dollar bill that Trump passed, or the 1.9 trillion dollars that Bill Biden passed, which one do you think is gonna give the most effect? If you guys know, which one is different and all that, like the minute details. Like, assuming, do you know like which one would be the most helpful, almost, right? This to society.
Well,
You can go first.
yeah, I was just gonna say like, it's kind of difficult to say. Well, I think right now, obviously, the one that Biden passed, because it's direct relief to the people who need it, the organizations that need it. But I don't know exactly in the long run. I'm not an expert on this stuff. I know a decent amount about generally how U.S. economics works, but I really don't. I talk out of my ass a little bit, so I can't really say. I don't want to make assumptions on something that I don't truly understand.
Yeah, that's a valid point. How about you, Abi?
I say that obviously it seems that the fact
Like,
that
it's a
the bill
prediction.
that Biden
Yeah.
passed, like as of now, is effective, but even in the long run, right? For the time being, Biden's bill still kind of gives us more of a help for middle class because remember, it's the top 1% that only benefits from that tax act.
Yeah.
None of us, maybe a mix of like a couple of middle class people may be affected, but those tax cuts are mostly for them. They haven't really done those tax cuts don't affect us, so it's not beneficial.
Yeah.
Beneficial.
Yeah.
And then if you think about it more of a logical perspective, we will end up being taxed more because those people aren't giving that sort of money that they usually give now because they're excused from it. So yes, I do believe that Biden's tax bill, his COVID relief bill is more effective, and they should be doing something to revert. This may be a bit of an extreme idea for me, but I feel like they should be reverting that idea, that tax care act from Trump's administration, because it's just crazy. Why do they need to be excused from taxes, but we have to suffer?
What I do know about that is that it's the idea of trickle down economics, which has been found to not work. So, Joe is here, by the way. I'm gonna drag him.
Yeah. You can. Welcome, Joe. This is our second guest, and he was running late. He had some, personal scheduling, so he has come. Joe, we're talking about the Congress passing the virus relief law, about the 1.9 trillion dollar COVID bill. I think you should know quite a bit about it, right? So we're talking about how the 1.9 trillion dollar bill that Biden made, it might be or is going to be more effective and helpful to America than the bill that Trump has passed.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to finish up what I was saying real quick, and then
Yeah, finish your.
you can say what you were gonna say, Joe. But all I was saying basically was, yeah, like Trump's idea was trickle down economics, where if you were to give the rich a tax cut, basically, that money would trickle down into the company that they work for, because obviously, if you have that kind of money, you're gonna be an executive in a big company. So the idea is that that money would go either back into the company that you're working for, be more
Mhm.
bonuses for the workers, higher raises in general. That was the idea, but that's completely leaving it up to the people with all the money. And why
Which
would they
I
do
feel
that?
like, yeah, they would. I mean, if you think about it, these rich people aren't gonna just give money back to society. Like, if you think about it, they're gonna save up. They're gonna find ways to put that money safe, but also increase that money so that they become rich. So the whole saying of rich people are going to get richer and poor people are getting poorer is that's where that concept comes from. I'm pretty sure.
At the
Obviously, I
moment,
don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, yeah, I'm a high school student. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But um, yeah, I think the 9 trillion dollar bill that Biden's passing obviously is gonna be more helpful for the people like middle class and the lower class, since they are the ones losing jobs because of COVID. They're the ones who are suffering the most, I think. Obviously these rich people are losing money for different reasons, like the GameStop issue, um which is kind of funny. But we're gonna be talking about something that actually Ahbi researched, which is about the police response to Black Lives Matter riots versus the Capitol insurrection. Okay, so the on January 6th, Trump supporters stormed the Capitol building in an attempt to support their president and turn over election results that they believed were fraudulent. Guns, bombs, and violence ensued, and people made it inside, managing to enter the rooms of officials such as Speaker Pelosi and sit in the seat of former VP Mike Pence, where he usually sat during the Senate meetings. With such a dire situation going on, police were seen to have a feeble response and were even found to let protesters in. However, when Black Lives Matter protesters were protesting without violence outside of the Capitol, they were met with tear gas and violence from the police to go away. President Biden even commenting, saying that if these insurrectionists were Black Lives Matter protesters related, or the movement related, they would have been met with a very different approach. Trump was seen commenting that these people should be sent to jail and were comparable to terrorists. So the first question is, do you believe that if the protesters were from BLM, would they be met with a different method of subjugation?
I'll go. I personally believe yes, because I feel like everyone's always saying, "Oh, BLM also rioted during the summer protests and stuff like that." When you consider it, 26 million people took part of that movement. Out of those, out of all those protests, only about 7 to 3% turned into these horrible sort of riots. And even those, BLM stood out and said, "We have many chapters, so we're not sure where it happened. However, we do denounce it. So we will be looking into it." And people who were, caught doing those like sort of lootings, and who were, participating in arsons, they weren't even related to BLM. So it's not an excuse to say, "Oh wow, because BLM did this, that's why they're treated like this." Because I'm sure if they were in that same position as an insurrectionist, they would be reaching a much harsher, absolutely a harsher sort of subjugation, especially considering Donald Trump personally decided to take his time and go and denounce it and call BLM considerable terrorist, and then proceeds to, not even choose to denounce it as aggressively as he did BLM protests. So, you know, I do think that BLM would have been sort of faced with a much harsher sort of subjugation than these insurrectionists. Because
Yeah,
remember,
what
these
I'm
insurrectionists, half the time the police officers actually let them in.
hmm
Yeah.
And they're
Oh,
even
what
seen
I'm
taking
really
selfies with them. So
Yeah, what I'm actually quite surprised about is that these people were able to just walk into the Capitol building, right? This is the Capitol building, I'm pretty sure.
yes, it's the capital.
Yeah, so I'm very confused that one of our, government uh buildings is just people can just walk in, and I'm just very surprised that you can do that. Where are the police? Where are the guards? And what are they doing? Why are they standing doing nothing? I'm quite annoyed at the fact that some of these people just walked away not being prosecuted. I mean, some of them or majority of them are, but there's some obviously that might have slipped by. I'm also very concerned that this is actually not like, if you think of the worst case scenario, what if like this idiot or this psycho just decided to walk in with bombs, which they already had bombs, but they decided to blow everyone in the Capitol building and the building itself. They just decided, you know what, it's a great day to just destroy and like or create an act of terrorism, right? So I want, like, this is like what we know or what is happening now is actually one of, like, I think it's the more tame scenario that happened. There could have been worse possibilities. So I'm very like, why would you risk having the Capitol building being bombed? Like, and you guys know anything about why there were less defense for the Capitol building? Abi, you might know about this, right?
Oh, they did find there was an order given previous because the FBI did find out about that this sort of thing was about to happen, and they did give warning to both Trump and advising him to take special precautions like calling the National Guard and stuff and beefing up the security of the area. Trump decided to respond with an order saying how no one is allowed to you know personally engage with the protesters. You have to only use nonviolent measures, stuff like that. And it was kind of, I wouldn't say obvious, but it does seem suspicious at the fact that he sort of lessened the security of the area and decide to not call National Guard when there's this sort of a dire like situation happening. Because remember, there was pipe bombs found. These people were armed with Molotovs and homemade napalm, and then even taking the time to like napalm, sorry, and then even taking the time to you know bringing a whole ass like rope and saying hang my pence, a noose, like when stuff like this is happening and you don't want to call the National Guard and say that these are protesters, yes, it does seem obvious that it was an obviously planned thing and that defense the defense of the area was purposely lessened.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, we're not 100% sure if
Well,
this
you're
was
never
planned.
100% sure, but it
Well,
does
it's
seem
not, but it does seem suspicious enough to
make that
assume that
assumption.
Trump, assume that Trump was kind of encouraging this action, which is not something a president should do. That's like risking your own child. That's like your job to be taking care of this country, and then you just, because you're not going to be president for another 4 years, you decide to ruin it. It's like almost doing your homework and realizing, oh wait, I'm not getting credit for it, somebody else is. So then I'll just write all the answers wrong and then give it to the next person.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, and it's not something a good person would do.
Let's not forget the video Trump made after the whole thing, where he sort of kind of does like a counterintuitive message here, where he tells his supporters to go home peacefully, but he also says at the same time, this election was stolen from us. Things are rigged. So you're kind of giving them more reasons to be angry here, which is
Throwing
You
more
know.
wood on the fire.
I mean, we wouldn't know
Yeah.
if elections were rigged or not, but that's another point. But I
Of
feel like
course.
Trump is like this weird thing where he like encourages his supporters to do insurrections and these like borderline terrorist things, right? Yet he once it happens, he just acts like he has nothing to do with it. He's just like, oh no, this was like a terrible thing, and like all this. You know what I'm saying, right? It's like terrible. It's not like no one. I don't know what to say. Like it's just like I've never seen a president do this ever, and it shouldn't. He shouldn't be setting this precedent for it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
If you guys are ready, we can go to the next section. But this is actually not written in our topics. But I wanted to also talk about the rising issue with like this anti Asian hate. Like people are. I mean, not actually
Corona?
anti-Asian. Yeah, like obviously that actually kind of stems from obviously Asian hate has become like an issue before Trump has encouraged it. Like society has normalized making fun of Asian people. Like if you made fun of another minority, like an African American, right? You're met with backlash. Yet some, like, I'm not saying everyone does this, but I've seen a lot of times where Asian kids are bullied for being Asian, like, aha, you have small eyes and all this, like these jokes, and like we're supposed to take it as jokes and be like, oh, it's okay. And a lot of Asian kids have become normalized to it, when in reality it shouldn't.
Yeah.
And now it has become, now finally we're getting media coverage over it, right? Since I'm an Asian American, Joe's Asian American, and Abi is also Asian American. We
I
can
mean,
all
I'm
say,
I'm here. I'm like Sri Lankan, but yeah, more or less.
I've no, you know what I mean. But it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm like because I just wanted to make the distinction of what type of.
it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's yeah. But yeah, it's like finally we're getting some kind of media coverage on it. People are being more aware of it, and I'm thankful for that. There is one issue that kind of triggered me is this is a while back, but this is one of the stories that really resonated with me. It was a Korean grandma got hit by a, I don't know what they hit her with, but it's definitely something so harmful that I saw like a picture of this Korean grandma on the floor bleeding like pools of blood on from her head, and the woman that hit her said white power and ran away. I'm not saying white people are all racist. Obviously, there are different people from different races that still attack Asian people.
This is
Like,
all a personal thing. It isn't a color thing. Just because you're white doesn't mean you're racist, but neither
yes,
does that.
yeah, we need to clarify this for people that are watching. This does not mean like not all white people are racist, and
We're
I don't
condemning
feel
the ideas, not the
the
actual,
ideas. Yes,
people who are
because
responsible.
a lot of white people feel like they're responsible for what happened, and obviously they're, I mean, like, I don't feel that they are. Like, if you've done something in your life that has like you've been racist, like, yes, you should be apologetic, but most racist white people aren't, and most racist people in general aren't. But if you're white and you don't need to say sorry. Like, that's, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like you need to say sorry because it's, you didn't do it. It's, don't, like, this, there's this white guilt that has been pressuring on white people, and I feel like as a minority it feels unfair to do that. Like, they have said sorry enough times, and obviously there has been stand-up white people that actually helped during these black movements, and like these minority movements.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like white people need to be obliged to always turn the white person into the villain. Like, I don't think that should happen. By doing so, we are actually attacking white people. We're doing things flipped now. It used to
We're
be
living on a double standard, basically.
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. And um I feel like a lot of people inadvertently do that, where they um move this anti-hate rule, but then inadvertently that actually moves the hate towards people that, like, overgeneralize the people that actually attack these people. For example, um let's say somebody goes like, I mean, it's hard to explain, but you guys know what I'm saying, right? Is um like the victims are always like a victim would be like, yeah, it's always these white racist people. It's not always white racist people. It's just racist people.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not always like I'm not saying that there are no white racist people, but there are obviously. There are also black racist people. There's also Asian racist people. Everyone is a certain amount of racist, and even if you say, "Oh no, I'm not racist," everyone is a bit racist. And that's not, I'm not saying that everyone should apologize. I'm saying that just admit that some part of you thinks that you're a little bit better than other people. Like that's a thing. Like people are sometimes scared of black people, like big black people. Like that's a bit racist, but like that's wired into our heads because of society. That's not because of your fault. Obviously some of it is like if you're gonna out like speak it out loud and be a complete asshole about it. But everyone has a bit of racism inside. Like I'm taking psychology, and we had to take this test before we went to class. It was like a summer assignment, and it was like this Harvard test, right? It was like about if you like black people more or white people more, and majority people are like leaning a little bit towards liking white people more than black people. Does that mean everyone is racist? A little bit, but you know that's because society has made it so that white people are good looking almost, right, or better. But I don't think that's people's fault. I don't want to keep rambling. You guys have anything else to say to it?
I think what um, pushes this notion of racism, or pushes just racism in general, is that we applied history towards skin color. You know, like someone who lives, who doesn't, understand anything about like racism, right? They see another person with a different skin color. They don't think much. You know what I mean? But because of applied history, like I know I'm saying like in a very obvious fact, but it is important to consider that, right? Because like as a kid, before I even know what racism was, I saw every person with a different skin color. I didn't think of anything else besides that, right? Because no one just teaches that information in schools yet until you learn about it. So
Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah, Tyler, go ahead.
No, no, I'm just kind of agreeing. I don't really have anything else to say about it. I am a white person, so. But yeah, no, I agree with what you guys are saying. That's all.
Like for these people, they focus so much on who's doing these acts that they forgot about the actual like ideal itself. You're supposed to condemn racism, not the group that commits it.
That's very true.
Like it's like you guys don't want to condemn the actual like idea, so you just decide to play this like, blame game on who's doing the majority. So it's their fault. It's their fault. No, it's everyone's fault. Everyone's equally responsible. Racism doesn't discriminate anything in the sense that anyone can do it.
Yeah,
Anyone
it's like
can
that
be
funny
racist.
thing. It's like that funny thing. It's like a ton of I've seen like a ton of black people and like obviously a ton of white and yellow people. You know, African Americans, Caucasians, and Asian people. We are all a bit two faced in a sense, right? It's like African Americans demand equality, yet I have seen videos where African Americans bully Asian people. Like there was like one time where like this old Asian man, he's like carrying like these like his I think like bags of some sort. Like I think he was homeless, but I'm not sure. But this was a while back, and like these African Americans came up and just stole his stuff and ran off. Obviously, I'm not like that doesn't mean that all African Americans are racist. Like all of them are racist. Like I'm not saying that. And that's the issue is society is doing that. Like we need to condemn racism the action, not well obviously the people that do it, but not overgeneralize. It's not all people are like it's not all like specific race is racist. It's just these certain groups from these races, and it's minor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
if I want to go back to the whole Asian woman getting or Asian
Mm-hmm.
people getting hated or just beat
Yeah.
because of the whole COVID. Right. I feel like uh, what we can do moving forwards for newer generations is, I think the best way is to have is to offer higher education opportunities. I know that's like easier, you know,
Like, what do you mean by
said than done.
like to who? To
So
who?
I think a lot of people who believe in the whole like, you know, or who hate Asian people or like are racist towards Asians because, you know, they are
Of COVID?
yeah, of the COVID thing, right? I would like to think that many of these people do not have like proper education or they're not like properly
Well,
informed, obviously.
okay, so for
So
that issue though, I feel like I don't think that's like like education itself. I think that comes from, well, first of all, leadership, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
but
like
yeah, I just want to add on that leadership perspective. I love it how people say, "Oh, the virus came from China, so therefore it's obvious that Chinese people get hate." If we go back in time during the 1918, there was the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu had the name Spanish in it, right?
Mhm.
And yes, there was some sort of form of racism, segregation existing there. But I cannot find a single record where people started blaming Mexico or any type of Latino country for the virus, even though it has the word Spanish flu in it. People worked together. At least, people did try to care for each other instead of focusing their mind on let's see who we can focus the hate on. Ebola?
no, that's the issue nowadays. Nowadays, it's not how do we fix this? It's more of whose fault it is. And
Exactly. Same thing
obviously
with
the COVID.
Ebola. Ebola did majorly came from Africa. But during that period of time, no one was hating on African Americans for that fact. Why? Because
I
our
think it's
leaders never
also
said
because
anything
of
about that. They cared more for
okay.
the people than the actual let's do the blame game.
It's
So when
it's also
Trump
because of
Yeah, exactly.
it's hard for a lot of, obviously, like quarantine actually has made everyone more recluse, right? Everyone's at home and everyone's like uh and like I told this to B during text, like I'm saying like we always have this weird two personality thing where like on virtually we can be more radical and more like more personified, almost like a caricature of what we really are, right?
Mhm.
But like in outside we're more reasonable, we're more we're more reasonable in real, like our real life personalities. But now it's become so blended. It's like a blend of like our toxic, or like not all of us, but like some people's toxic personalities from the internet has slowly like transferred into their real life personality. And I think that also has to do with a lot of these people being frustrated with Asian people, saying like, "Oh, you're the one who brought it here." Like, I think that's from the lack of people accepting Asians into the American society, because like some people still say to Asian people, "Get out of our country." Like, this is equally your country as it is mine. If you're talking about whose land is actually originally supposed to be for, it's Native Americans. So technically, none of you guys belong here. So don't tell Asian people, don't tell African American people, or even white people that you don't belong here. This is technically, we all stole it from the Native Americans. So it's none of
Yeah.
our land. The only person that I think should be allowed to say, get out of our country, should be the Indians. Sorry, not Indians, the Native Americans, because that we properly robbed and killed them to get this
It
land.
was genocide. It wasn't even like robbed. It was just pure genocide.
Yeah, they sent dogs after Native Americans. They straight
Participant
up
in
just try to
biowarfare.
they straight up try to destroy their culture, like by having their children go to church, trying to go to like different places in like an Americanized culture, so that these Indians can lose their Indian heritage.
It was
Mhm.
manifest destiny.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Um,
I think we're ready to. Are we all wrapped up on this topic? Are we ready to move on?
I mean, if you guys want
Yep.
to, I was gonna say like I don't know. I have a feeling that some political leaders try to push the whole like fucking you know COVID was caused from China. That part of
Oh
it.
yeah.
That was yeah. That was
Yeah,
literally
like
what she was just gonna
what's it
say.
called? Trump called it like the China, what do
He
you
called
call
it
it?
the
The
China
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 virus,
virus.
Yeah,
Virus.
And the
see,
Yeah.
and the Kung
that's
flu and the Wuhan flu. Like
the
when you
Kung
say
flu.
stuff like that, you have to expect the fact that there's consequences to
yeah,
what you
like
say.
I'm okay, like I'm Korean and my parents saw that. Like they saw Trump call it that. And even though we're Korean, like my parents were worried because, not a lot of people can differentiate Chinese people, Korean people, or and Japanese people. So it's like we're getting hit by the crossfire, and obviously, that's not okay. First of all, they shouldn't be hating on Chinese people in general. Okay, that's not really their fault. And secondly, there's collateral damage. Like Asia, like Korean people, Japanese people are getting attacked because Trump decided to blame everything on China, and I think that's also the mindset of a lot of now, well, not all of them, but a few of them decide like I can subvert the frustration of all my people to a specific country or group of people. And you know who did that? Hitler has done that. He brought all the frustration of Germany onto a specific group of people. And Trump is doing that. I'm not saying Trump is Hitler, but I'm saying that they are both using a technique that Hitler has used before, and I don't
Basically,
think.
brainwashing.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
Through
exactly,
the media and advertising.
exactly, and I
Marketing.
like that's why the leader is so important, and I think that's why I'm reminding everyone, even like a lot, because recently we've actually lost a lot of people like voting, like younger generations aren't voting as
Yeah.
much,
Well,
and that's why I encourage people. I mean, obviously these people are older than us, but I encourage people to vote because our presidents do really matter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now,
Tyler, you had something to say?
well, I was just gonna, the voting thing. Like, a lot of people think like, oh, I don't like either of these guys. I don't want to vote for either of them. I don't want to put my support towards either of them. And I kind of made that decision this year. Like, you really just had to pick the better of two evils. It was as simple as that. Like, whether you were for Trump or for Biden, whatever, you just had to pick, or neither. And maybe you were just leaning in one direction. It was as simple as just picking the better of two evils.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a
And it
lot of
really
people have
was.
been saying, yeah, a lot of people have been saying like all like recently, like politicians have become like worse and worse, and they're both terrible. And yes, they are all terrible. Like Hillary had like back. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Hillary versus Trump, right? Like they both have skeletons in their closet. They all have secrets and these dirty things, right? Like these things that people wouldn't usually want to talk about. So, however, people need to vote. Like vote for somebody that is better person than the other. I know they're both terrible people, but choosing the better one at least gives us the people a bit of a better experience as citizens of America.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for that topic. We're gonna move unless you guys have anything else to say.
I just want to say that politics have turned to just like a little bit of a shitty game of
Oh,
let's
See,
let
see, I think though. Okay, Abby, finish your thought and I'll talk.
it's just like blaming the other side, resorting to petty insults. Let's attack this group. Let's appeal to this group. Like it wasn't what it was anymore. It's
Mhm.
just really disgusting. It's infuriating and it's just childish. None of these
Okay,
people can make decisions based on their actual constituents, but they're making it all for personal gain and just appealing to their own party. Why is it that a Republican can't make a decision without being censured from their own party? That's my question.
uh,
You speak of freedom of speech and then proceed to censor your own person from your party just because they voted to like acquit Trump.
I don't think. However, I actually don't think it's only Republicans, right? Like
It's also
Democrats do
Democrats.
that.
It's also Democrats.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
100%.
I don't want
Especially
our audience to
AOC,
think that
with her
it's only
overreacting
Republican.
about the entire, like insurrection. Like, I'm not saying the insurrection itself wasn't serious; it was a very serious topic. But her entire experience, it was not anything. Like, there's senators who've gone through more than her and currently still doing fine, and I'm sure they have trauma, but they're still carrying out their duties. But for her to take her time to live stream and then talk about how she was in her building hiding and a police officer came in and told her to get to safety and that was traumatizing for her. I'm sorry to say, but I really don't respect you for that because that's insulting the people that actually went through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All
It's
right,
like
so I have two
overreacting and
thoughts.
just petty.
So I have two thoughts for the politics being,
Yeah.
childish and
Okay.
whatever. So first thought for me is yes, politics has reverted back into this like weird calling names and all that, but I think it's like this weird bell curve where it's like it used to be more of like an intellectual conversation like a while back, right? Like in the around before Obama, right? Around Obama's era. Like that was the end of the intellectual conversation. But it's not unheard of for politicians to, be like children, act like children. Thomas Jefferson and who did he run against? Thomas Jefferson
I
versus
forget actually.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Is it James Madison?
Maybe
Thomas Jefferson.
Madison was the fourth president, so it's possible. Although
Yeah,
he might
yeah,
have been.
it's Thomas
I think he
Jefferson.
was his vice, but he ended up being his vice president because that's how it worked.
Yeah, so I think it was Madison and Jefferson, but excuse me if I'm wrong. But I remember them. I think one of them called one each other like a hermaphrodite. Another one like exposed I think Jefferson for having like sex with like his slave, right?
Right.
Like that was a thing. Like so I don't fully think that it's unheard of and or like atrocious or like oh my god, this is something I've never seen before where politicians are being like 10-year-old kindergartners and just like be like no, you're stupid. No, I'm not stupid. You're stupid. Like I don't think it's unheard of.
No.
Yet, I think it should be frowned upon. Our politicians shouldn't act like this. Like the politicians we have right now are over 50 years old, and they act like 10-year-olds.
If it were up to me, I would wipe them all out and start over. Every single one of them. Clean
Yes,
slate.
genocide has always been the answer. Apparently, that's a joke. For legal reasons, that's a joke. Yeah, so that my second thought, I forget what my second thought was.
I think we should move. I don't want to cut you off. But
Yeah,
we
no,
have
no,
been
no,
on
yeah.
this topic for a long time.
Yeah, we have been. All right, so our section two is a bit more of our we know much more about. It's our forte, video games. Tyler, this is your section, so you're gonna introduce all the topics.
Video games. Okay, so this is a bit. It's been a bit, maybe like a week, or maybe more than a week now since.
Yeah, more than a week old,
since the big Pokemon
but I mean,
Direct.
we screwed week, so
Yeah, it's fine. Uh, since the big Pokemon Direct, and everyone's talking about Diamond and Pearl remakes. Do they look good? Do they look bad? Is Pokemon Legends Arceus going to be a good game, or is it going to be terrible? Is Game Freak getting lazy? All of that is up for debate, but the first big thing is definitely the design choice for Pokemon. I forget the Diamond and Pearl remakes. I don't remember exactly. It's
I'm
Brilliant
gonna.
Diamond and Shining Pearl. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go first. So, for me, I played with Pokemon Diamond when I was younger. It was my first DS game that I ever liked and I ever played for Pokemon. So, when they said it was a remake, I was elated. I was so excited, and when I saw them doing like like not we don't know if it's a faithful remake, but from just what I saw, like aesthetically, the 2D, I think it's good. Like obviously some people don't like it because it's 3D and it's weird, but I like it. I like the way they did it. It looks really nice. I miss the 2D why do I say 2D? It's 2D. I missed it. Like I look at the newer versions and I'm like I'm not into it. I don't like it. And I hope they make a faithful remake where they actually bring up the difficulty again. I remember when Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum, they were all equally hard. I mean, not equally hard, but they were hard. But
Yep.
after them, like it's slowly the difficulty like has become less and less. So for me, I like the aesthetic. I like the way they made it. The character models are fine. I have no issues with it. And
A lot
I
of people
think
do.
yeah, a lot of people do. I think they're dumb. But they're also stupid because it's a remake. what you want 3D like models. Like I hate three. To be 100% honest with you, I'm sorry if you like this. It's a hot take, but I don't like the 3D models for Pokemon at all. So you Pokemon fans, I don't like you because you like these newer games that are boring as hell. All the old games are better. So shut up.
Anybody else have an opinion about
Yeah,
that?
Joe,
About
you
the
must
Yeah.
have an opinion.
style?
Of course, I have an opinion. I also personally don't mind the style. It's supposed to be nostalgia. From when you played Pokemon Platinum or Pokemon Diamond and Pearl on the DS. I like how they stuck to that. I think if they were to translate it into Sword and Shield, it would almost be like its own different game, and I don't know how I'd feel about that because I like the whole nostalgia aspect of it. When the trailer played and the music from when you load up Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, the whole fucking that theme, I was ecstatic because it was so nostalgic. I got so many chills, and that's what I want to have as this experience. I want to keep the difficulty as well. I want to fight Cynthia with like a 6 team. I want to do all this stuff that I did when I was like 5 years
Yeah,
old or 6 years old.
I also don't want them to add like the newer Pokemons into here. It wouldn't make sense. How are you it wouldn't make sense to me. Like I like the older Pokemon. I don't like these new weird dog sword and shield Pokemon. What are they? They're useless. They're like Eevees with except you shoved like a freaking shield into their heads. I don't like it. I don't like these new Pokemon. I mean, I probably sound like a boomer, but yeah, I don't like the newer ones. They're all boring. They like just from watching it, right? Like when I watched like the older ones, I was like obviously it's not something you watch usually, you play it. But when like watching playthroughs of it, it's kind of fun watching these harder ones where like you actually have to grind. But I'm like watching Pikachu, Pokemon Eevee, or like all these newer dude, I don't even know their names, but they all suck. I think they suck. I hope they make it difficult this time for Diamond and Pearl remake. Abi, do you have any opinions on this?
I don't really play Pokemon, so
That's epic.
I'm not really sure about it.
Next topic. We'll Tyler, we're talking about
Well,
Legends, right?
but actually, I just wanted to add one more thing about the Diamond and Pearl remakes.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think like it would be a smart? Do you think it would be a good idea for them to add something, just maybe not like game changing for the remakes, but something just nice and something cool, like in when they remade Ruby and Sapphire, where you could like fly on Latios and Latios's back, like in an open world like sky map version of Hoenn. I just thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. Do you think like something maybe utilitarian a little bit, like ease of life,
Yeah, I
a little
think
bit
that'd be
easier for
cool.
you?
I've never played the remake of that one. I really do wish I had it. Yeah, I think that's a cool concept. I've always wanted to do that because I don't really like even in the very beginning. I felt like there was a missed opportunity with Fly. Like I feel like you could have made it like more interact like make it so that you can interact with it. Like when you do surf, like you get to meet new trainers, you get to fight Pokemon, right? And like I feel like Fly could have been like that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they didn't do that. So I hope they make it so Fly is more interesting. Obviously, just like you said, Tyler, Fly would be very fun if they made it more like the remake that you're talking about.
It's quality of life improvements, maybe.
Yeah. Uh, do you wanna do the next
Yeah,
one?
I guess we could move on. So the other big thing from the Pokemon Direct was obviously Pokemon Legends Arceus, and this is supposedly, from the looks of it, we haven't seen a ton of gameplay, but it looks like it's the Breath of the Wild Pokemon game that we all wanted. Uh, do you think this? Okay, just to start it off, this is a complete, departure from what we know of the main Pokemon series. Is this a game that you would consider playing?
For me personally, I want to try it. Obviously, it seems a bit like Breath of the Wild, but all open games are like Breath of the Wild. So, since Breath of the Wild put that precedent there, I feel like like from what I saw, you like have to stand next to your Pokemon, which I felt like is weird because whenever you play Pokemon, you always see your Pokemon. That's it. You don't see your trainer stand side by side. To me, that felt so weird, and I was like, I don't know how they're gonna play this. I also didn't like how I mean, I liked everything else. I mean, just the gameplay. I'm very confused how you're gonna do that, and like I don't know how you're gonna like the gameplay is specifically seems like it's gonna be very hard to do with an open world. Anyone else think that, or like you wanna debate over it and stuff like that?
It's I don't know.
Mm.
Joe, you got something to say?
Pokemon Legends. I mean, I want to see what direction it's gonna go be in because I've never played Breath of the Wild. I've only seen like fragments of
Oh
gameplay.
no! You gotta play
So
it. Breath of the Wild is
hell
so
yeah,
good. It's an S tier. It's an S tier game. But
I
yeah,
got it.
I feel
Yeah,
like I'm the only one with a bit of an opinion on this. I just feel like I hope they do well on it because if they do well on this, then they can actually step uh into like a newer more very like they can put more variety into their games. Cuz like
yeah,
for
Mhm.
over how long? Like
25 years.
yeah, like 25 years they made the same game, the same type of thing, the same concept for so long and it's like obviously for true like long Pokemon fans it must have been boring, right? It must have been boring. Um so Game Freak gets like this chance to improve on it and I hope they do. I hope they can hit it off with this very risky move and they can move forward into a new gameplay rather than keep doing the same formula.
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
that's what I'm worried about is the fact that Game Freak is involved because they have just been very lazy, I'd say, since after Gen 5. And I know that the switch to from 2D to 3D was a big deal for them, so I know X and Y wasn't exactly going to be like the greatest story wise or even creatively. It was just about putting it in 3D on the 3DS. That's fine, you get a pass. But when you get to Gen like 7, Sun and Moon, I'm sorry, Sun and Moon Defense Force, but I don't like those games. I didn't finish those games. Um,
damn.
yeah, I know. I think I probably say halfway through, and I just put it down and never picked it up again. There was no particular reason. I wasn't like really enjoying myself, but it wasn't a matter of like, oh my god, I hate this. I can never play it again. Weirdly enough, as I haven't played it more and more, I've grown more and more hatred for it. I don't know why. Every time I've
Um,
tried picking it up, I just can't. I don't
I
know.
think that's also because like you've played a lot of Pokemon games, right? Like for me, I'm going back and I've been playing Pokemon Platinum recently, and it's I can't let it go. Like I've been playing it and playing. Like I play it and I restart it, play it and I restart it. To me, these games are actually so exciting, and I'm just like, yes, like even the grinding, I was enjoying it. I don't know. I played Pokemon Black and White, and I was finished with it, and I was like, what did I get out of this? I felt nothing from it. I felt like I didn't learn it. Like I mean, obviously you don't learn anything, but I didn't like it. It was just so boring. And
I liked
sometimes,
Black and White. That was a good one for
well,
me.
yeah, I guess that's just like a personal
It's
taste,
it's
but like
opinion. Yeah, of course.
yeah, I like put it down for a while and I came back to it and I was like I don't know where I've never fully finished it. It's like I think that has to do with like just Pokemon in general being like you if once you've let it go, you don't really want to go back, especially if there's no reason to, right?
Mhm.
Like for me, Platinum is one of like the most challenging Pokemon games, especially for Nuzlocke, right? Like a Pokemon game, it's very difficult. So for me, it's like that challenge and like, oh, I can't wait to fight Cynthia. That's like a huge thing for me. So the fact that the difficulty curve has kind of, you know, flattened or kind of declined, I think that's a big issue. Yeah. Do you want to move on to the next topic, Tyler?
Jody, I just want. Do you have anything else to say before we move on?
No, I don't got much.
All right. This next thing is Smash
More of
Bros.
yeah, this is more of me and Joe's topic. So
Yeah.
we're not gonna linger too long on this one. This one's gonna be simple and quick. Pyramithra, it's just another sword character in Smash. It's Xenoblades. Thank God they got a lot of people like Xenoblades. Obviously, I didn't get the option to play it yet.
Should play it.
Yep.
Should
Yeah,
play it.
definitely. Yeah, a lot of people have said that you should play Xenoblade. So, Paramithra, I have no say in this because I don't know these characters. Obviously, they look insane. I've watched gameplays like follow a ton of Smash YouTubers, so they play it, and they're pretty cool. They have the Pokemon trainers like what's it called? Uh, Mechanic, where like you can switch from one two characters. So I think that's interesting. Joe, you have any opinions on this before we move?
I think they added Xenoblade 2 characters because there was just a lack of Xenoblade 2 content in the base game, so they were just like, you know what, you guys want more music? Here's more music. Here's these two characters. Glad they brought back the Pokemon trainer swap mechanic, like Zelda and Sheik. I thought that was pretty cool in terms of their gameplay. But other than that, yeah, I don't have any strong feelings about Xenoblade. I just expected them to be in this past. I mean,
Arms was a mistake.
Xenoblade was inevitable.
Arms was a mistake. It's actually
Arms, yeah.
broken, and I don't like it. But let's
Yeah.
go to the next section. School life. So I'll actually be skipping the basic questions. Since Abi actually is on a tight schedule, we want to finish up with his specific question. So Abi, this is directed to you, but anyone else can jump in because this can be anybody. Has problems with overworking become a bigger issue in BCA because of having to go to school virtually? So just to clarify with the people, B's from BCA, me, Joe, and my counterpart here, Tyler, are from. Should I say this?
Why?
Actually, you know what? Let's let
Just
this is
censor that part. It's fine.
this
Just
is
censor
cut.
that part.
Okay,
Alright,
that's the one
anyways,
part
yeah,
that
fuck
I'm gonna
that.
have to. Let's cut to commercial break.
If the line for fun just goes on and on at some overgrown mountain marathon, it was up to you, but you should have gone to the Neverly. It's a place to go with your family, or when the two of you want some privacy, where you feel at home and you're glad to be at the Neverly. At the Neverly. You can play all day or lie beside the pool. You know the greatest food and service is the rule. At the Neverly, there's so much to do, or don't do a thing. People do that too. You can have it all, and it's up to you. At the Neverly, at the Neverly, at the Neverly.
Welcome back to the show. I am gonna ask Abi questions about his school. So, has the problem with overworking become a bigger issue in BCA because of having to go to school virtually?
As a senior, it doesn't really hurt me as much, cause it's like kind of okay. I mean, it still feels overworked because teachers think they have the right to just like give you as much work as possible because you're at home the entire time. But for juniors and sophomores who are during those crucial times, teachers just keep on piling up work. It's not even piling up work; they all make it due on the same day. So let's just say March 1st. 20 teachers will assign the same thing to be due on March 1st. And sure you can say oh wow, these type of things should be condemned, and you can just like space it out, and you'll be fine. That's not how it works, right? Because you like you can't just spread 5 days and 20 classes worth of work and expect to be fine. Teachers should be making those things due on like every other day. Maybe even communicating with other teachers to be like, what are you making due on this day so I can not stress my kid. Teachers don't care about that. So it's overworking, it's stressful for us, and they try to like pretend like it's not that big of a deal, and oh wow, we deal with this stuff, but they really don't. they really don't care at the end of the day. It's just them trying to finish a curriculum and actual having us learn.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That is a very good answer. Yeah. Anyone listening from BCA, I hope Abby is advertising this to any of the BCA students so we get more
I
views.
just hate my school. So if you do love your school and you're a white knight, this might actually not ring with you. But
Uh, yeah.
if you're a freshman, this is just a heads up call that your life is in for a lot of hell.
Yeah, yeah, I feel really bad for the BCA students there because there are rumors that BCA students have to pull all-nighters nearly every day because of how much work they do. So I wanted to ask you, Abi, if this rumor is true or not.
Yes, in the sense that it's just how the entire school works. You go there 8 o'clock, you come, and school ends at 4:10. Depending on how um long your bus ride is, you get there from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. When you're done and when you sit down, you're starting your homework and everything, all your assignments, your essays, studying for those quizzes at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, 5 to 7 o'clock. That thing's not in 1 hour, like quick thing to let's do and then we can go sleep. You need to put a lot of effort. And those classes require you to study ahead and study a bit more in depth on those topics that they teach you. So, yes, it is the sense that all nighters and staying up late is a common thing in BCA because of the amount of workload you have and the amount of effort you have to put to keep up with those standards. Because it's not even the fact that you can just do something and you'll get a grade for it. They expect a standard from you too. So not only are you doing the basic work, but you have to fit it into that standard too. So it's a problem that the school doesn't wish to condemn, and they say that, oh, you can just do this, this, and this, and you can solve it. We were having an assembly once. We told our teachers, we have to fit to that standard, so we have to stay up late. So if you're telling us to sleep, are you expecting us to let go of that standard and get a bad grade? And you know what the administration has the guts to say? You just have to get that occasional zero.
Yeah, I think that's an issue. Risk. It's like almost like they're saying, are you gonna gamble? Are you gonna either have healthy life or a good grade? So now they're saying pick or choose. It's not you can be both healthy and get good grades. It's now a choice of whether you want either of the two. And for students, especially in BCA, since it's so competitive, they're gonna obviously choose a better grade. So now it's like the administrative is now being like this blindsided and like they're not understanding what is happening to these students, and I think that's mentally damaging for the BCA students. And I think obviously they're getting into good schools and they're getting a ton of work and getting like a if I may a good education, right, Abby? Like
I
they're
mean,
getting decent.
yeah, assuming you have a good teacher.
Yeah, assuming you have a good teacher.
Because
But
if you move into the next topic, like what is the hardest class?
mm,
Um, it's not even the fact that it's the hardest class or something like that, or the topics are hard to understand. It's the teacher. If you are not putting the right effort to accommodate every child and teaching, their subject, teaching into the bare minimum, and then assigning us random pages to do and expect us to do it, get mad when we can't answer a question because we don't understand it. Um, that class will be hard because it just turns into pure self study. And when those freshmen are taking chemistry for the first times, I feel that those teachers, they kind of just expect you to know stuff without actually giving you a pretty in-depth explanation. Like the
mhm.
notes they give you and sometimes the problems they give you, they're completely unrelated. It's like easy example that's like 1 + 1 = 2, and then they give you a calculus problems, and then they give you a college level math test for the test. They
Yeah,
don't
but
account.
I think that can also be said by our school for a ton of our teachers, I mean, Tyler knows about this. He had the same teachers as me.
Yeah.
Back in sophomore year of my class, this is my first time taking an honors chem class, and obviously chem is a very difficult subject for some. So for me, I was struggling, and we had a teacher that this is their first time teaching honors, and this is their first time being in our school. This is their first year, and they told us specifically the class that they got a D in chemistry class back in high school. And I'm thinking, So you're here as a newbie. You don't know what you're doing. You got a D in your school, and now you're teaching honors as a first year teacher. And we didn't learn nothing. He didn't teach us anything. He just gave us projects on top of projects, but then gave us tests that we had no idea what we were talking about or learning because he never taught us it. And then like there's a second teacher. She's a doctor, and she's much more educated and more experienced. She came in for 5 minutes in one of our classes, and I learned more from her than from that teacher that I had for the entire year. He was terrible, and then the next year he doesn't teach honors anymore. You know why? Because not I'm not saying every, but like majority of the students from his class didn't make honors next year. I didn't make honors, and I'm not. I mean, I am still spiteful. I'm still mad about that. Like, even if it's one grade, it ruined my other. Like, I focused so much on on chemistry that I neglected my other newly honors class, which is for math. And like this thing ruined my school career. Obviously, it's partially my fault for only like being so narrow minded and only focus on chemistry, but it's also like, you know what I mean. Like, if you're the administrator, you should think, maybe since he's a first year teacher, maybe I should put him in for an easier class so he can get used to the system, rather than putting him in the top where the AP or like the honors kids are, where we actually need to study and have guidance. And like, because of him, my school career, I'm not saying is ruined, but it's a huge hit on on my grades and my transcript. And I think for anybody that's listening, like that are students, most of you guys, I feel like you guys understand what I'm saying. Is like, the administrator needs to understand that a lot of us actually care about our grades. It affects our future, and that they need
They
to.
say stuff, they say optimistic stuff like just try it, it's okay. They don't know the consequences of failure for us.
Yeah, they're so blindsided by their own jobs
They
and
do it optimistic, but it's just idealistic without any sort of reality mixed in with it. By
yeah.
trying stuff, you take a risk, and that risk is often the con like the like that risk, accomplishing that risk and the consequences of that risk, the consequences often outweigh the accomplishment. You fail a class, you do bad in it, that goes to your transcript, and that affects your college decisions. But then teachers just like, oh, well, just take the hardest classes possible. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You guys have to understand that the stuff that we do in school, no matter how much we try, we will still get bad grades every now. Like, we will still get bad grades. So telling us to take a risk in some classes is not advisable, because there's consequences to that we have to face. You don't face as an administrator. You don't face as a teacher. We face as a student.
Yeah, exactly. So it's because like adults sometimes becomes like, especially educators, become detached with how much we actually need guidance and how much we actually need help. Because now like these teachers are like, yeah, this is my job, I'm gonna do it. Like, they don't think, oh shoot, these kids like rely on me for like helping them through their future.
Yeah.
We like our grades matter now, like even more now because of COVID. Like, we're even in a harder competitive environment. A lot of kids, especially like Abi, like you've told me, I'm not gonna say it out loud here, but there are a ton of colleges that you and me, and I don't know about Tyler, but me and Abi know that we could have gone into these colleges, and most of them we either got deferred or we got just rejected. And I feel like if there was no COVID, and if um administrators cared a little bit more, we could have got into those schools. And I know a lot of students that, especially if you're a senior, can agree with. It's frustrating that these adults don't seem to care. Obviously, there are a ton of them that do, but there are those few that ruin that experience or ruin our chances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Um,
honestly I feel like it leads to a conversation about the idea of what we learn in school, and Okay. Let's talk about chemistry for a second. Do you think you would ever actually use chemistry in the in any of the careers that you have in mind?
No, I'm taking computer science. Why would I ever need it?
Exactly. So, that kind of comes down to the question of maybe we should have more choice in what we want to learn. you know,
Mm-hmm.
because not that the teacher that you were talking about for anybody would exactly be a great choice, but if you're just taking the class simply to pass, um, because you're forced to, that's really not productive for anybody. And it begs the question: should should we as students have a little bit more choice out of just two electives or whatever the case
I
may
think
be?
we should have more say in. I think obviously this happens with BCA, right? Like where you get a major and you can focus on it. I think a lot of high schools should do that. Like almost all of them should. Cuz I have a feeling like obviously people are going to lose interest in what they do, right? But you can always change that in high school in college.
Yeah,
That's the concept, right? Like you can explore what you wanted to in high school. And for me, I feel like all that time I've been struggling on chem, I could have been focusing on things that could have helped me for computer science.
exactly.
And obviously, Abi, you need to go, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be gone soon.
Do you want to leave like now? Like we can end it for you, right?
Well,
I mean, if you have any more questions for me, just
Oh
ask
no
them
no
now.
no. Everything else is basic. It's just like stuff that we can
yeah.
all
I
just
mean,
discuss.
we'll wrap up. We'll give you a
We're
farewell and then we'll wrap up.
yeah
All right,
Bit
then
after.
I'm a dip.
yeah. Okay. This is Abby. Do you have any? Do you want to plug in your Instagram or anything?
Nah, my Instagram's private. Considering what's been going on right now with the feminist thing, I don't want anyone coming to my Instagram.
All right. Yeah, that is true. That is true. All right.
I've been getting so many bot accounts trying to add me because there's people trying to dox my account. So
Mhm. All right, so that it has been. This is Abi. He's from BCA. He's a very smart dude. Um, he's one of my greatest friends, and I mean he's a reoccurring guest, so you might see him in another episode. Yeah, Abi, you can yeah.
yeah, okay.
See you, man.
See ya.
Good talking to you.
Good
Good
seeing.
talking.
Continuing on our conversation, right? Um,
We were talking about like choice in
Yeah,
school.
yeah, it's like I feel like we should have a choice in what we study. Also, in psych class, we learned about multiple intelligences, right? Where like you can take an MI test, where like you figure out what intelligence you're most proficient at.
Hmm.
Cause my proficiency, the top three was spatial intelligence, language intelligence, and self intelligence. So those three are not as close as to the traditional teaching ways, right? It's like language intelligence is really good for traditional, but there's also another intelligence. There's two intelligence that are prioritized in the traditional school classroom. Yet a lot of people have other intelligence factors or like are better at other things. So the question is, should we be having the kids take the MI test so that they are split into groups where people with different intelligences are put together, right? Like if, for example, Joe had spatial intelligence and another dude had spatial intelligence, they should be in the same class together, learning it in a specific way, while another person with a different intelligence should be taught in a different way. So I think there are a lot of improvements that the school can make, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's across the board, not just in our particular. That's just the U.S.
Just
education program.
overall. Yeah.
Because
Yeah, like we're one of those like biggest and strongest countries, yet we do not have
good
the
education,
best education, you know?
not even close. If
Not even
anything,
close, right?
they've got us beat in like Norway and Sweden.
Exactly. Like those two countries don't come close to being as powerful as or influential as um America, yet they have one of the best education systems. Maybe we should be implementing what is good and throw away what is bad, almost like cherry picking almost, right?
Mhm.
Common Core, first of all, let's talk about that, is terrible. That thing needs to be thrown away and destroyed. That's a mistake that has been made by everyone. But let's move on to the basic questions, right? So, how has your experience with school since COVID has affected your school life? That's a big important thing in our lives, right?
Mhm.
Sure.
So, your experiences with the school since COVID.
Um, I think it's kind of telling me that schools are not prepared for mass pandemics.
I have to agree with you there.
Yeah, it's just like I've said it before, but I don't understand. I just don't get how you know people are behind the screen and they're not. There's people that there's like in school. There's a lot of ways that teachers are able to use different learning styles or like take advantage of certain learning styles, like hands-on learning or like but everyone's just kind of forced to uh, basically be visual learners with these when we're using Zoom and everything. That's just all I feel. I don't know if it feels like actual school because you're also not even really in a school environment. You're at home. Some people have managed to like transform their home into like a work environment, but like it's just like no
So
one's
you think
monitoring you and
you think that everyone should go like there should be more monitoring and stuff like that. Like I think personally,
well, I mean,
students are like the school. Okay, so from the very beginning, obviously it became a rocky, like it's hard to do virtual. I
yeah.
think our school has done well to sort of adapt almost. Obviously, it's not perfect, especially the teachers. I think the teachers themselves have a difficult time adapting
Yeah, which is
to this
understandable.
new environment.
It's
It is
understandable.
understandable, but they also need to learn how to fix it. Their
Yeah.
method of learning is like a real life classroom, and which is terrible for a virtual environment. Nobody's gonna listen. It's so boring. And when we take tests, Tyler's in the same class as me. So when we take tests, we have to fold our computer so the cameras are viewing our hands, so we don't we're not apparently cheating.
Mhm.
But kids cheat anyways. There's a different
Yeah.
ways of doing it.
Yeah, not
I'm not
specifically.
saying that
Yeah,
people.
hold on. To make it clear, not specifically in that class. We're talking about in general
Yeah, just
virtual
in
learning.
general, like people cheat. Yeah, and I'm not saying that everyone cheats, and I don't condone cheating. Cheating is for losers and people that don't study. And I think, but like cheating has been a thing for forever. Like even when you take what's it called? Like take a test, paper test. Like some people cheat. Like it's not unheard of. And I feel like the fact that they want us to fold our computer, like I have to crane my neck
Yeah,
upside
it's
down
like
or some
very
like weird,
uncomfortable.
yeah, I have to like be in a very weird position to even look at the computer because of it. And I think that's a terrible way of teaching. Just trust the students. Obviously some of them are gonna cheat because they can, but there are kids that don't, right?
Yeah.
um
And you know what the solution to it is? Just don't give regular tests. Give out the test grade in another form that is more that more well suits the virtual learning environment, whether that be a project, a video, just
or
some other
or or
medium.
Yeah, or you can just make them write an open ended for their test. See, open endeds are hard to cheat on because it's unique and you can't just look it up and copy it.
Yeah.
Um, and like obviously that gives more work to the teachers, which I think is why they still give you multiple choice. Multiple choice is super easy to cheat on. Okay, there's no debate on that, right?
Yeah,
It's
no
like,
beating around the bush.
yeah, like I can like some people are just gonna look up the answer and be like, and then they're just gonna cheat. I think they should just throw away, especially for virtual tests, just throw away the multiple choice and just make open-ended questions. It's easier that way for the teachers to mitigate cheaters, right? It's hard to cheat on an open-ended because you have to write your own opinions or come to your own conclusion.
Yeah.
I like to personally, I like what Tyler you said. Projects are great. Videos are great. Those are good ways to show that you understand
The
the
material.
subject, the
Yeah.
material, right? Yeah, so I think teachers need to learn how to evolve in that sense, and I wish there was an easier way for students to express that to the teachers without making them feel offended.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean,
Tyler, you took that survey that our principal gave us today, right?
no.
Well, I had to take a survey, right? During our physical education class because we don't actually have physical education.
Yes.
It's about like how teachers are doing, how's virtual class going, and obviously I don't feel like they're doing terribly. I think they're doing okay for a school, but I also think they can improve a ton. Um, I'm happy that our principal wants to see our own opinions, but I also feel like even if we answer the survey, it's not going to change that much, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Uh,
yeah, you have any other things, anything else to say,
I
Joe
was
or
just,
Tyler?
I just wanted to kind of add to the video thing, like, or just other projects as a medium of taking tests. Actually, it's kind of funny that that you mentioned that particular class, that we happen to be in together, because pretty sure the teacher mentioned that they were going to just stop doing regular tests and do a test grid through a different form.
Yeah, but I hope it's in a better form, not like in a form that makes it easier for teachers and then hard, terrible for us,
Well,
which they usually
I
do.
think they said they were just going to like eliminate the idea of like a standard test at all, which is fine.
Then how are they gonna wait? Like, what do you mean by standard tests? Like, they're gonna give
Like
us each different personalized tests?
well, no, I was gonna say like we're not gonna have a period where we all sit down at the same time and do it. It's gonna be like it's gonna be like a longer term project that's gonna count as a test grade.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's proven to work. Uh, I'll have. I mean, I've made video projects, and
Yeah, for marketing.
for marketing for my marketing class, and I've created my own cinematic universe.
Yeah,
So
you should. You didn't let me see it, by the
I
way. You
didn't.
didn't. No, bro. You need to send that to me.
All right, we'll look at it after recording.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, it's proven to work. It's fun. You can make it fun.
and it's
Some
memorable. It's
it's
memorable.
very memorable.
Yeah, I still have a freshman year health
Oh
video that we
yeah, I
had
remember
on
those.
drugs. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so funny, dude.
Oh my
I
god,
mean,
it's great.
exactly. It's I mean, and we get to learn things. I got to learn about what weed does to your mind, what it
Mhm.
can what bad stuff it can do. It was fun, and I think I like that's the memorable parts of school.
Yeah, I learned all
That
about
I
meth.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you learn, but you have fun, and I think that's a great way to teach, especially virtually, because virtually it's and in real life, but like school is traditionally boring, and
Hmm.
for students, they don't remember things if it's boring, and that's for every kid. If it's fun, they'll remember it. I remember like the timeline for World War II because my teacher taught it really well, and it was fun. It's like
Yeah.
a exactly. It's like kids learn if they're interested in what they're doing. And so I think I doubt teachers are watching this, but to any teachers that are watching, I feel like if you're ever gonna teach something that you want a student to remember, make the thing fun. Make it fun and not like adult fun where it's like we're gonna do trivia. No, not that. Make it fun for them. Make a video like a video group project, like a skit. Obviously, it depends on the students you have, but personally, I love doing videos with my friends, doing skits and stuff.
Doing
That's amazing.
videos. Oh, oh man.
Yeah, it is so fun. But also, you have to keep in mind COVID is also a thing. So,
That is true.
yeah, so for you teachers, it is hard for you guys to make it fun, but it's not my job. It is your job. My job's to study and remember things, and um, don't make my job harder, and we won't make your job harder. I think that's the end game here, right? We're a symbiotic relationships, so we don't want to, ruin each other's experience. Our next question is, do you feel like there's anything that the administration can change about the way that your school is responding to COVID?
Wait, I'm sorry.
We're all in the same school, so
Right. Wait, so the question was about. I'm sorry. I don't know why I
yeah,
blanked
okay,
out.
I'll repeat it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you
Great.
feel like there's anything that the administration can change about the way that your school is responding to COVID?
The administration. Well, uh, it's hard to say because they are completely constrained by what the state says. So I don't really know where their boundaries lie as far as like
Mhm.
making changes. I mean, I don't really
Yeah, I
know.
get it. Mm, then let's talk about the state then. What do you think they should have done, like, to change our, like, overall school experience?
That's tough. They, I don't know. I think it's hard to say. I'm not.
For
I don't.
me, okay, I'll go first
Yeah,
then.
you can go first. I gotta
Yeah,
collect my thoughts. I don't know what the hell I'm talking
yeah,
about.
it's fine. My belief is that we should all just go fully virtual. Like, I don't know why people, or like these like adults are so persistent in having students go. Actually, I do know why they want us to go back to school. It's like a different environment. You learn, or you're forced to learn more in an environment where you are supposed to learn, right?
They have the
Um,
control.
yeah, but I don't like that. Like, that's also risking people with COVID. And obviously, um teenagers aren't actually fully, like, it doesn't hurt us as much as like younger kids or older kids. But I mean, older
Older
people, like,
people.
yes, yes, senior, old, like, yeah, fuck. Yeah,
Senior
but you know what I'm
citizens.
saying. Old people and babies, they're the ones that are the most affected by this, or at least it'll kill them. But there are kids with asthma. Like, I have asthma. Some kids have other uh conditions that actually can make them uh make COVID fatal. I'm actually getting my vaccine soon for COVID. And I think schools should be restraining everyone. Literally put everyone onto a virtual system until we know everyone has a vaccine. Or any, or let people come in if they have the vaccine, right? But give the student an option. Don't force all of them to come back, or even people who have the vaccine to come back. Because I know for sure that COVID has been evolving. It's like the cold, right? It evolves and it's gonna become better, and the vaccine's not gonna work at one point.
Yeah, because there are already other
Yeah, there's
strains.
already,
There's the
exactly,
UK, the South African, whatever.
exactly, and we don't want to have, like, an environment where COVID can strive, like, or like thrive. Sorry, strive is not even the right word. Why did I even think of it? Yeah, so, like, I think the school is like, the state should stop focusing on we need to bring everyone back to school, and focus more on we need to administer as much vaccines. Obviously they are, but more. Like, I want every single one of the people to focus more on giving students and everyone else vaccines so that they can go back to school, rather than just forcing them to go back to school because they supposedly are COVID free, or
Yeah.
there's less people that have COVID. Joe, you have any opinions on this? Guess not. Okay, so next question is, do you feel like there's anything that the administration can change about the way that your school is responding to COVID?
Didn't you just ask that question?
Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm going crazy. Who is your favorite teacher of all time?
Okay, yeah. So this is just a nice little way to end. We're wrapping it
Yeah,
up
this is
here.
our wrapping everything up. You want to go, Tyler?
Yeah. So I
Joe
kind of have.
seems to be preoccupied.
Yeah, he has been muted, or he
Yeah.
muted himself. So we'll come
Yes.
back to him in a minute. But so I have two answers to that question. Um, like I have like my more relevant teacher who I've had recently, and then I have an elementary school teacher who I really enjoyed, had a great relationship with. So
Yeah.
I'll start with the elementary school teacher, I guess. So um, this was my first and ended up being my third grade teacher because she moved up from first to third grade when I did. Weirdly enough, I guess she did it for one more year, first grade, then she moved up. Um, so I had her twice, and she was just a really fun teacher. It was a very welcoming learning environment. She did a lot of fun activities. Um, she was very nice to everybody, listened, all kinds of stuff. Um, she would do some wacky stuff. She could erase the chalkboard. Uh, chalkboards. Remember that? That was a while ago. Chalkboard with doing a handstand, so she could erase the chalkboard with her feet. Yeah, really.
That is crazy.
I know. So that was really funny. I remember there was a story where one time in first grade there was like this couch that everybody sat on when we had reading time, and
Of course.
yeah, reading time, and um I guess some of us were fighting over it. I don't remember if I was involved in that. I might have been, but she got like upset. She's like, if you guys can't agree on who's gonna sit on the couch, then no one gets to sit on the couch. So she took the couch, opened the fire escape, the fire escape door. It was an older building, so the fire escape door just opened. It was like an outdoor fire escape on the second floor
Mhm.
of the building, and she just tossed the couch out there,
Oh
and
my god.
and like everyone was like freaking out because that was like our favorite thing in the world, and
Mhm.
they ended up it got picked up by a garbage truck, and
Mhm.
so it went to the dump, and they called the dump and actually got it returned back to the classroom. And it was a weird week. That was a weird week.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Your next teacher
Right.
that
and
you
then
really
and then
like.
like the more recent were relevant, who as a teacher, because I don't remember first or third grade that well. My
Mhm.
sophomore year history teacher, he was my AP US history teacher. uh yeah, he was fantastic. He was always very ecstatic and you know um excited about what we were talking about, I guess is the right word. Like, he really
Mhm.
enjoyed US history, obviously. He had very strong political views, and he was not
We're gonna edit this out, but I actually kind of want to ask you. No, 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 wait, wait, wait. We're gonna edit this out, but I wanted to ask what's his name?
uh,
Who's your team?
very quick commercial break.
It's Bradley's biggest sale ever.
Bradley's entire store is now on sale.
That means every item in every department at every Bradley's has been slashed. No exception.
Take 20% off all toys, apparel, shoes, and more.
30% off knit tops and sweaters, cosmetics and window treatments.
50% off all greeting cards and trimmetry.
And take an incredible 60% off all fine jewelry.
Wow!
Every item in every department slashed at every Bradley's.
Hurry into Bradley's today, where absolutely everything is now on sale.
Miss this sale and you've missed out.
And we're back from commercial break.
Welcome back. Yeah, we're talking about our favorite teachers, and Tyler's talking about his second favorite teacher, or like your most
Just
recent relevant
more
teacher, right?
relevant, because like
Yeah.
first and third grade was a while ago. So I was talking about my history teacher, and yeah, he was very ecstatic. He was very excited to talk about what we were learning about, whether that be you know I don't like the railroad strike of 1879 or whatever, or if it's
Yeah.
the Watergate scandal, whatever it is. He was always very, he had a story attached to it. He was very animated in the classroom. It was very difficult to not pay attention to what he was talking about. And the funny thing is, I didn't do like super great in his class because it was a very difficult class. So um I didn't do great. Like, I didn't flunk or anything, but it wasn't great.
It wasn't easy.
It was not easy, but it was entirely worth it because it was so much fun. The projects he came up with were pretty much always top notch. They weren't like video projects, but a lot of times they were presenting, which is like presenting in class, public speaking. That's a little out of my wheelhouse, but it was still a lot of fun, and I would
Yeah.
I would love to do that over again.
Yeah. Joe, you have any of your favorite teachers of all time?
Um, favorite teachers of all time.
If you don't have one, it's fine.
I had a fourth grade teacher who I really liked because I think she was like one of the most patient people I ever dealt with. For someone who's like super like me when I was like a kid, I was like really hyper energetic and like hyperactive. So I would go like balls to the walls, like crazy as hell. Um, but I guess I liked her personality a lot, and it's just I like to think about like nice teachers that I had. So that's about it.
No, I mean
All
that's
right.
kind of what you always want.
Yeah, you want a
Yeah,
patient teacher that's kind to you. That's always the way. Um,
straight up.
my favorite teacher is actually from sophomore year. Sophomore year was a complete uh cesspool, right?
Oh,
It
it
was a
really
shit
was.
show.
It
It
was
was a shit show for
it
me.
it was pretty bad for me too, and personally and
Yeah,
in school. It was terrible.
yeah, it hit me hard. That like it was a terrible time, but at least from that year, I got one thing good out of it, and it was that I learned to love reading and writing. I learned to like enjoy writing my own things and stuff, and that's because of my English teacher in sophomore year. She had like this attitude, like this sassy attitude, and I loved it about her. She didn't care about roasting like these kids when they were being annoying. She would call you right out if you did something she didn't like. Obviously, teachers do that, but she did it in a way like that you couldn't even get mad at her. She was so good. She had like a fun personality. The way she had this like class was so interesting. Like the book that we read wasn't even like a book that like usually when you read a book that a teacher gives you, hate that book. But
Yeah.
she introduced me to Catcher in the Rye, which is my second favorite book like of all time. And the way she did it was so fun. I enjoyed English, and I think she influenced me the most out of anyone else. Since she's the one who kind of indirectly influenced me into writing my own stories and writing a journal and doing all these things that I wouldn't have done because my other English teachers, like I hated them because they ruined the subject for me.
Yeah.
So
I
like
agree.
yeah, that's pretty much it. So I think that's it for this episode. So I wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to our episode. Please like and subscribe.
All that fun
And
jazz that everybody
yeah,
says.
all that thing that the YouTubers say. You know what I'm saying? I want more subscribers. God damn it. And more views. Give me more views, audience. Share this episode, or I'm gonna quit. Yeah.
I feel like that's
No,
not gonna happen, but
no, that's not gonna happen. So yeah, I think that's it, right, guys?
yep. Thank you,
Yep.
Joe, for
Yeah, I wanted to thank all our guests.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
no, it was
we're
fun
gonna wrap it
talking.
up. Yeah. Thank
I'm
you for
talking.
watching our episode, and we will see you in the next episode.
See you guys then.